Thank you so much for joining us, for doing this with us. This is all about getting folks to just get ready to submit for a speaking spot this year. And even if they don't get selected, like understanding that this is a really good opportunity to just practice submitting to speak. You've been a speaker, you've been on the selection committee, you've done reviewing, so you've done it all. And I really thought you would have some good tips, tricks, insights to share with those who are going to potentially submit. And then we'll send folks out to the pitch sessions where they'll have a chance to connect with some of our past speakers like yourself, some review committee members, selection committee members. We have kind of a whole host of folks that have been involved in the process in different ways to just pitch their ideas and get some feedback.
Hey ladies, how's it going? I feel like I haven't seen you in a long time. My name is Lori Edwards. I personally am guilty of being that person that is like, oh, I'm not ready for this. I don't know enough. I'm not an expert. I don't think.
I was there as well, like in this, like, no, I need to be like better prepared. And we all women, we are like that, right? Like we always tend to like, I need to be up here, and you are already there. It's just nobody's like, yeah, okay, you're good, you're ready.
You are the expert, and you are the expert on your experience and your life. No one else can tell your story better than you. No one else can walk through all the steps you've been through than you. So as a result, there is a bunch of stuff that you are the expert on, that you can speak to authentically, and that you can contribute a unique voice and narrative to on a particular topic, experience, situation, technology, whatever it is.
One of the things that we look for on the selection committee is actually those different levels of expertise. It's important that we have representation from all levels and backgrounds in the room, because that's what makes a great conference and continues to grow the community.
I was a speaker last year. So when I initially submitted my application to speak last year, I didn't have anything prepared. I didn't have the slides. I didn't have the handout that I ultimately gave away at the end. What I did know were essentially 3 core messages that I wanted participants and anybody who later watched the recording of the workshop to take away afterwards. And so if you have something, an idea, doesn't have to be fully baked yet. I selected the workshop format because it's something that I'm really competent at and have a lot of practice in as a first-time speaker at the conference. I think it was the right choice because I really ended up getting the level of engagement. If you've got something where you're really trying to educate people, not just on a general topic, but how to execute something at work, which I think we need a lot more of that for the women in product community, I recommend a workshop format.
I have been part of the review committee all 4 years. For me, I guess like what stands out more is going to be the video itself. I think that what we can do is always suggest that there's a title change. A very important piece is your presence and how you are speaking and engaging. Is your content consumable? Can you make it, have 3 very short points that you're trying to make? The easier and shorter you can make your points, people will be able to remember and take away that information with them. So, and that's what people are really looking for. It's like, can I grasp what the takeaways are very quickly? Shorter, titles, making sure that they are really explicitly describing whatever your talk is about, how to or overcoming or something that's actionable.
This will be my 2nd year on the review committee. So one of the first things I look at is the topic. Does it speak to something that is on trend or a common challenge that we may all have faced? Does the speaker have a unique perspective on that topic? For the title, I tend to look for something that's going to catch my attention. I like to see a concise bullet list of this is what I'm going to bring to you and what you're going to take away.
Last year, I had the honor of being on the selection committee for speakers. 3 key things that I'm looking for. The first is audience awareness and their level of expertise with the content. So is the language that's being used in the proposal reflect the awareness of the audience level of expertise, and really ensuring that that resonates with that group of people and the pain points of what they're trying to solve by coming to your talk. The second is that the goals are outlined with actionable insights. So proposals that outline the perceived goals of the audience and demonstrate how the talk will help set the individuals up for success to achieve those goals in an actionable way is something else that I really hone in on. And then the third thing is that the relevance, like why now? There are so many topics we could be talking about, but every year the conference has a theme, and the ability for the proposal to tie back and articulate why this speech or this topic is important to this topic and to the world we live in today, it is so important. And so when I think about Evolve and Excel as a theme for this year's conference, it's how do we take those core principles of those atomic ideas of product management and apply them to the very complicated world that we now live in. Two key things to stand out. The first is ensure a clear connection between the talk's title and the overarching conference theme. So if it's not immediately obvious how the talk will tie back to the overarching theme, that's just a lot more cognitive energy. The best piece of advice actually that I would give is lead with the spoiler. And so my recipe for how to do that in a title is provide your solution, your problem statement with an emotion all together. So I love to lead with example. A title that may be a fine talk title, it would be ethical AI practices. I think to level up and to really stand out, you could have the same exact talk with a new title, and really stand out could be innovate ethically for solutions for AI's moral journey. I look for compelling storyteller, someone who not only knows the subject matter or is an expert in the topic that they're talking about, but they have to be able to deliver that talk with an energetic, confident, and clear way. So a speaker who can convey complex ideas in an accessible manner while keeping the audience engaged really stands out to me in the review process. You know something, if you're the subject matter expert, you know what you're talking about, and you can do it in a compelling way. I personally really don't care what your background is for this context. So I don't use these data points when I'm reviewing submissions.
The review community, they get a lot of submissions. So I think last year there was like 500, I don't know, it was a very large number. So in order for things to stand out, you need to truly capture somebody's eye, basically, as they're sorting through all these different topics. And this is really where the title and the description, specifically your key takeaways, really is what brings people to the attention of your talk first. In your description or your title, you can kind of hint at who your key audience is, and that really helps the review committee understand how it fits in. Some examples are thinking through, what current events are happening? What questions do you see people asking each other in our community? When I pick any topic that I want to write a piece of content or make a proposal on, I tend to be that person that picks big topics or like meaty things that you could take in a bunch of different directions. But really, when I'm trying to figure out what are the tangible takeaways from this, I typically ask myself kind of two key questions. The first one being, what are the 1 to maybe 3 things that I want somebody to take away from this topic? So if they don't hear anything else I say, what is the one thing I want them to remember afterwards? And then the second question I ask myself is, how could somebody literally start doing this tomorrow? Is there a piece of advice or a specific next step I could give them where they could actually start applying this for themselves tomorrow? That really helps me distill what those most important things are. And then I can craft the rest of the presentation or the story around those main takeaways that I want them to have.
I'm a former WHIP panelist, and I also co-lead the South Bay Women in Product chapter, sorry. And I've also been part of the review committee, so I'm involved in Women in Product in a number of ways. I look at who the speaker is, the speaker profile being up to date on LinkedIn with the experience is really important to me. I will follow links that are submitted. I form a picture of their level of expertise about the topic. I love a catchy slogan, something controversial, something that seems like counterintuitive as a title. Those are always fun, but the content is really what matters, what the learnings are and what the speaker can share.
where we realized in the committee was like, well, this might not be a one like speaker or two, but it could be another thing. It could be a workshop. It could be combined to another group. So that was a wonderful thing also we discovered in the process. So that's something that I had never been like before. It's usually like, oh no, okay, no, you're out. But in here we were all trying and cheering like people up and say like, okay, maybe we change here, we can put it with this person and they can have this.
Previously, I was a speaker in 2023 for Women in Product. It was really important that I chose something that I was passionate about. And at that time, I was really passionate about finding my next career, my next job. And so I wanted to really focus on things that I was actually doing in the present moment, and that made it very relevant, but also very actionable for myself and for everyone else. I made it really what I needed at the time. So it's a lot easier when it's something that you're passionate about or a problem that you want to solve or have solved for yourself. And so I put myself in that position. I drank my own champagne or ate my own dog food as a PM, whatever it is, and thought of when I've attended events, what are some things that I wanted to take away? And I always wanted things to be very, very actionable.
I was a speaker in 2021 in a selection and review committee a year ago. When reviewing a lot of the content, and it's a lot of content that you're reviewing and proposals, and you really want to be able to provide a diverse and good perspective from different speakers that the audience will be engaged with. And those that stood out were really ones that were able to identify the audience that they were targeting. So firstly, like being able to identify who is your audience and who are you speaking to, and tailoring that content was really important for us to be able to make sure we have good enough variety across the different types of audience and attendees that we think will be joining the Women in Product Conference. The other thing that was really important was how relevant is it to the conference theme, right? It changes year over year. And the conference theme is often related to what's going on in the industry and product for women in product. And so with those things taken into consideration, are you also looking at the current trends of product and women in product? For titles, I think it's really interesting. And there was a lot of like brainstorming that I had done for She's Just Not That Strategic. Make it short and punchy, right? I think a lot of times like pop culture references. I remember one time when I was a moderator for one, there was one woman, Jennifer Lopez, she was her name, the speaker. Her title was referencing like how Love is Blind can help with like product management or something like that. And just like Love is Blind, and like that, I was like, oh, I have to like listen to this presenter. And so definitely any like pop culture references, reusing song or show titles, right? Like think about like Friends, like The One With, right? And reusing that makes it really fun and definitely gets my attention. But making it also just like short enough where it's not, the title itself shouldn't be just like two sentences of a headline, because then it's, especially when it's cut off, and thinking about it from a written format. And those who are looking at the agenda, you want to be able to make it so that I know what the topic is about and it looks fun, and the speaker is going to be fun as they talk about it. And I can all of that I can get through just reading a headline, essentially. Videos are really important because they really let you understand how well the speaker will be able to resonate and engage with the audience. I wanted to be able to give still a platform for those that are newer to this, but still can be interesting and have a good topic and be compelling, versus those who are more experienced speakers. I think about it in a few different C's. So one is confident. Are you confident in the topic, in what you're saying? Are you believing in it? And how does that show through? The second is really your comfortability. Again, everyone has different levels of comfortability, but just showing that you are comfortable being in front of the camera, that you'll be able to be engaging. Are you compelling, right? Are you telling the story? Are you able to have like passion, and does the topic resonate in the way that you're saying it? It's the topic is one thing, but the way that you articulate it and compelling it is, and being compelling is another. And then lastly is, are you clear, right? Am I able to really understand what are the takeaways and what you're trying to say from that short clip of the takeaways and how you're pitching the idea as well. So when reviewing the speaker profile, again, for me, it was really important to have a diversity and representation, whether, diversity in background, but also in experience in speaking, experience in product. I thought it was really interesting to read about why are you interested in being a speaker for women in product? Like, what are you getting out of it? What are you trying to get out of it? So that was something that bit of piece of information was always like a little bit about the person. That was really nice to read about.
One of the things that I really thought of when I was reviewing the submissions last year, there were some topics that were really well suited, for a broad audience, and the takeaway was valuable regardless of where you were in your seniority level. But then there were other topics where it was actually more valuable to narrow the scope to fit a specific audience and segment. So one of the things that I would have said is just to remind people to really think about their topic and which lens to present it in. Do you want to go broad? It doesn't always help to go broad. Sometimes going narrow is also good.
Hi, my name is Evelyn. I'm a regular at the Women in Product conference. My topic last year was your toolkit to navigate the next rework. And then the year prior was a panel conversation around managing your micromanager. So when I think about, what are some tips and tricks I could offer aspiring speakers like yourself for this year's conference, I came up with a catchy phrase that really encapsulates my creative process. And they are 4-character, R-A-V-E, RAVE. R stands for relatable, A stands for actionable, V stands for vulnerable, and E stands for extractable. And that's digging a little bit. So R, relatable. I was part of a pretty big company-wide rework back in 2022. And I remember so very well sitting back on an Amtrak, thinking out loud, filled with emotions and anxieties, like, why is this happening to me? What am I supposed to do? And I started talking to myself and definitely scared a lot of people sitting around me. And then I realized I cannot be the only person going through these emotional roller coasters in my head. I need to write it down. And I bet this kind of experience can be relatable to many others. And that was my last year talk. I cannot say it's one of the most popular ones, but I definitely had some very meaningful connections during that talk and Q&A afterwards. It was a blast. You should definitely apply and build that relationship. A stands for actionable. Have you ever went to a conference and sat through those sessions and think, okay, everything makes sense, but so what? And then by tomorrow morning, you forgot most of the things you heard about. And I think that's because what you heard is not really actionable or something you can relate to. A talk is more about its audience than its speakers. So structure your talk so that the takeaways are actionable. V stands for vulnerable. I once read that we human beings go through so many thoughts, thousands of them, maybe more in a single day. Being a product manager is hard. I mean, a lot of complex and difficult conversations we have to deal with on a day-to-day is considered taboo. Worry about a rework. Having a micromanager, I find collective strengths. When I speak about those things that makes me so uncomfortable. And I connect with others the most when I let myself be vulnerable. The last one is extractable. I am a big fan of 2x2s and catchy phrases like rave, so that it brings humor and something tangible and memorable. When you use a simple explanations, your ideas become extractable and much, much more memorable by the audience. Voila, there you go. Submission is the easy part.
Submitting for a talk and performing a talk are really two separate things.
What's so scary about applying? If you get selected, you could say no.
Don't get into rigid mindsets, and don't spend too much time writing novels, because they're probably going to change anyways. And so focus on the essence of it. And so that would be something that's like a tweetable takeaway or like a bullet point instead, because it creates an opportunity for then the selection committee to weigh in.
You have an idea and go float that idea out there.